Hello, I am live. I've not been on a live stream in probably some weeks. So, for those of you who follow this channel, you guys already know I'm random. I think I told my people in my last live stream that I would be super random and that I had a lot going on and that I would not be doing live streams, for a while, just because I've been lifing, y'all. I've been lifing. This internet business is not my life. I don't like to even, what's going on, higher word? Grace and peace. Shalom to you. Shalom to you. I missed you guys. I missed you guys, but I have been lifing. I was in my house since my kids were little. And you know how you move into a house, the kids are little, and it just seems like it's functional for your family. And then your kids grow up. And so my middle child is now a preteen. She just turned 11. And so her brother, her and her brother, they used to be two peas in a pod. They actually used to be really close as kids. But now that they're getting older, I kind of see this separation. And that's my daughter. She's kind of maturing. She is like, her brother gets on her last nerves. And so it's been so much drama between the two of them this last year that I'm like, I need to get a bigger house because they were sharing rooms and they're too old now to be sharing rooms. So got a bigger house. I'm very, very happy. I'm very excited. I have so much gardening space. I have so much gardening space and I'm growing like celery, zucchini. I have a friend that's growing tomatoes, so I'm like, I'm not going to do that because she yields pretty decently. So I typically offset her yields with my higher yields of things like potatoes and zucchinis, and we just swap. So yeah, if you got some gardening partners, that's just awesome. You can hedge inflation by growing some of that food yourself, people. I mean, I have not bought green onions in so long because you can just buy them from the store. If they still have the roots on them, you can plant them and I just cut off of mine, cook with them, cut off of them. So, can you say my name, please? Why you want us to say your name, Greg? Are you want to you can you? I don't understand. Planting my garden this weekend. What's going on, Greg? We see you. You want to be seen, Greg? Everybody say hi to Greg Lawson. He wants to be seen, and we want to give him his flowers today. You are loved. You are special. You are seen. But yeah, my garden is going pretty well. I'm actually pretty excited about it. The rain has been awesome for it, but just catching up on the world, y'all. I try to stay out of Satan's world. Anybody who follows this channel know there's only so much of Satan's world that I can digest, that I can process, and because it just really impacts my mental health, I do not like to just be checked into Satan's world and what his demons are doing, but I'll catch some things. So I've been catching up on some of the things that I've missed in the last couple of weeks, moving and just studying for my CFP. And I noticed that, we got just so many different changes going on. Social Security, obviously, the Trump administration has pushed out. Sort of new changes to Social Security. And you have a lot of people, they're not certain. I mean, I think the Trump administration, they came out swinging. I think execution wise, I'm going to give them a D on how they came out swinging. They did a lot of talking. I think some of the ideas were very good if they were executed, a little bit better. And I just feel like everything is a come down from their craziness at this point. So it's like a quiet before the storm because you never know when Donald Trump opens his mouth if something is going to just flip the market going crazy. And, there's a lot of unintelligent people out there who think that they're high IQ because they have white skin. and they don't really understand the core economic implications to what their dear God Trump is doing, right? They don't really understand, businessman or not, you can still fuck up the economy. You see these CEOs, these business people, they screw up businesses all the time. All the time, right? And a lot of people, they voted for Trump because they're like, he's a businessman. He can do this. He can make good deals. Well, when it comes to these tariffs, he's not a good deal maker. And we shall see how everything kind of pans out at the end of the day, because again, the United States do not have punking power anymore. Okay? We do not have punking power. And we know we don't have punking power because our dollar is fucking weak. So there's that. But anyways, you're like a water in a hole in the desert. I love your commentary. Thank you, Howard. But this is just what it is. I think people, they get so, intertwined with these political positions that they don't really understand. Both of these political parties don't care anything about you. They really don't. Even if they elevate somebody that says all the things that you want to hear, at the end of the day, the policies that they push out is going to have either short-term benefits and long-term impacts, or short-term impacts and long-term benefits. We shall see what Trump is going to do, what his policies are ultimately going to do for this nation. But then again, Trump can have all of these economic policies that are in the long term great for the country. But the minute he is transitioned out, and let's just say we get a Democratic or some other regime of people come in, everything that he does to set us up for the long term can be destroyed. So Americans really have to understand the ebb and flow that they exist in. You have, these political ideologies, and they're really out to get you in different little special ways. Different special ways is what I think about it as. But anyways, like I said, the world is crazy. Anybody catch the Met Gala this year? I don't really pay attention to the Met Gala, but this year I actually paid attention to the Met Gala because I love the theme. I love the fashion. I love just that exploration in time of the Black Dandy. It was awesome. And according to certain reports, the Met Gala actually had a historic, I actually posted it on Facebook. What was that article saying about the Met Gala? Because I was like, y'all not going to tell me Black people are inferior, and every time you put our asses on something, it's profitable. So Met Gala raises record-breaking $31 million, the most ever in 77-year history. So in their 77-year history, their theme, the Black Dandy Through Time, is the one that was the moneymaker for them, right? I tell people all the time, you can run around believing that Black folks are inferior if you want to, but you got to put us on it to really make it profitable. And that's just word 100. Speaking about Black people and inferiority, I was catching Piers Morgan. He had the conservative Lily on there, and they were talking about this viral video of a woman at a park. And apparently an autistic Black kid, I guess, went into her diaper bag, touched her diaper bag, whatever the case is. She started calling the 5-year-old kid racial slurs. And so Piers Morgan had a panel of people on, and I guess to get the different take, I think he had Mark Lamont Hill. He had that Black People Tether from Sudan, Myron Gaines on, the Black white supremacist is what I like to call him. And then he had White Lily, the white girl on the conservative side that went viral for talking about broke ass niggas, right? Apparently, there is a segment of America that love white people talking like that. They love hearing bold white people talk about white supremacy and their supremacy. They feel like that is the ultimate free speech. But then Piers Morgan, in this interview, he tries to get white girl Lily to say the N word, right? Now, you're in the presence of Mark Lamont Hill, the only black guy there. I don't really look at Myron Gaines as being a black guy. He's just a black looking guy from the Sudan, right? But Mark Lamont Hill is like, why are you asking her to say this word, right? In my presence, because that word is offensive to me. And it's interesting, and people can say what they want to say, but, you know, Trump has literally brought the racist Americans out to play. They have come out to play. They feel emboldened, right? And and people can say you can't blame that on Donald Trump. He can't help it. You know what types of people follow him. Lots of people have not known Donald Trump to be a racist, but just because you're not known as a racist or you suppress your racism does not mean that you're not a racist. And case in point, recently, Donald Trump called Jasmine Crockett low IQ. He called her a low IQ. I think he called her trash, right? And again, he wouldn't use that word choice if he was talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is also, to me, akin to Jasmine Crockett. They are the same damn animal on different sides of the aisle and with different color schemes. But personality-wise, objective-wise, they are the same damn animal, right? But he wouldn't have called Marjorie Taylor Greene that because she's a white woman. But he had no problem using those racially stereotypical terms about Jasmine Crockett in their interview to call that black woman low IQ because that's what his base wants to hear. So, I mean, I would say this. I will say it again. Again, I've never known Donald Trump to be a racist, but that's not to say that the man isn't racist. And I think, you know, sometimes it takes, you know, certain events in life to really embolden the racist in a person. And so I do believe that the United States have an undercover racist president. And either if he's not undercover racist, then he has the wrong racist type of people in his camp, in his ear, giving him buzzwords that ultimately does not work well for the overall American population. So unfortunately, I'm going to say that, you know, this first 5 months of the Trump administration has been an epic disappointment. I think that if you thought that Obama took the country back, Trump has done that on steroids. And if you're saying America isn't racist, America isn't this, America isn't that, I would invite you to kind of look at how this president is talking and how he's talking about people, right? And even just some of those, you know, ignorant buzzwords that he's choosing to use about certain people of certain races. It's despicable. I think racism is despicable. I think people who have racist tendencies, they are, you know, of their father, the devil. I don't care how God, faith, and family they are, because, you know, Jesus, you know, I would say if you believe in Jesus, and I think believing in Jesus is a bit subjective these days. My king's name is Yeshua. His name is Yeshua. Y'all want to use the Roman Jesus, that's fine. But let's just take, you know, the copycat Jesus of Yeshua, the Hebrew, not the white man. But let's just take your white Jesus who emulates Yeshua, the Hebrew Israelite, and even still your Jesus would not approve of your racism. And that's just bottom line. It's just bottom line. A lot of these white conservatives talking about God, faith, and family, their God is the devil. You cannot have that much hate in your heart. You cannot be that ignorant and say that you are a child of God. It's impossible. You belong to the devil. You belong to the devil. But getting back to the Met Gala real quick, because I did this whole, like, if you follow me on Facebook, I literally reviewed the whole night. I reviewed the whole night. I was very, very, very excited about that. But again, you put black on it and you gonna get some profit, baby. Everything in history had black on it is profitable. But anyways, looking at these styles, I liked how everybody came. I think everybody had their different spin. The outfit that I hated the worst was Halle Berry's old ass. Halle Berry had probably one of the more disgraceful outfits on for a woman her age. I really expected Halle to have a little bit more grace about herself. We already know that she can't keep a man. No matter how beautiful a woman is, she can't keep a man. So this over 50-year-old woman is out here with her vagina out damn near in this costume, and this is supposed to be her high fashion daring moment. You said each president sets us backwards, Howard. I agree. You said white smoke, Pope Leo. All right, and America. Oh, I did hear the papacy did elect an American pope. You know, I don't really follow that structure, right? I saw the hype about it, but I wasn't waiting to see who the new pope is because that don't have anything to do with me. It doesn't have anything to do with my faith. I'm not a Catholic, and I leave those folks to themselves. But you know, they got a new leader, Jesus, you know, whatever the Pope represents to the Catholics, they have a new one. I saw somewhere where there was actually a black guy that was being considered at some point, but I think they, staying in line with the timelines of the beast, they probably needed an American Pope there. But, I don't even know how to wish that man well wishes on the position because I really don't know what the Pope do outside of. I don't know what the Pope do. I really don't know. Somebody tell me, what do the Pope do? He's not Jesus. You don't need to access him for prayer. You don't need to access him for forgiveness because that's what Yeshua's sacrifice was all about. That's why the lamb was the final sacrifice. That's why we're not burning animals, right? We're not following that Levitican priesthood burnt sacrifices every year. No, we don't need to do that anymore because Yeshua, the lamb, sacrificed his life for us. And it is through him that we access the Father. So I don't know what the Pope does for people, really. I don't. Because if you really understand the word and you understand Yeshua's sacrifice, you would understand that there was no man that you need to access to get to him or the Father, right? But again, people are kind of confused with some of these organized religions because, again, these people want power. They want to maintain power and influences over those who call themselves believers. So I don't know what the Pope does for people per se, but there are a lot of people who are excited about a new Pope, and what can we say about that? But moving on, what else was in my news feeds that I saw? Shannon Sharpe getting caught up by all these white women. I do not ever feel bad for a wealthy black man that get caught up with allegations by white women. I just don't. My sympathy levels are very low, even if he's innocent, because you should know better. You should know better by now. The game has been consistent in these high elite circles. It has been consistent. And for them to keep getting caught up, that's your own damn fault, and you deserve it at this point. You deserve it. You deserve it. Shannon Sharpe, I don't understand people. This man is over 50, playing with these 19-year-old girls. It's despicable. Despicable. And then, and it's interesting because I was talking about Trump earlier, and you got people like his number one black cheerleader, Candace Owens, who is turning on Trump. And I pretty much knew that I could have seen that happening because Candace Owens is not loyal to anything. Like she's very wishy-washy. It's kind of like she goes where the crowd goes a lot of times, even though she could have her own, opinions about things sometimes. But I mean, Trump is really what got Candace Owens her notoriety, outside of talking shit about black people. I mean, her allegiance to Trump is what really got her the white conservative base. And so she should have known you don't bleed the hand that feeds you. So the white conservatives, supposedly, they're very obsessed with Candace Owens. But I don't know why. You got to be a very low IQ person to just sit there and think that somebody that wishy-washy would have allegiance to an idea that you have. Truly, some of the people run around talking about low IQ. I mean, I do question what the hell they're talking about sometimes. Okay. Carmelo Anthony video to be released will cause mass protests. So let me see what's going on.
This is our last
I'm surprised people are still talking about this Carmelo Anthony thing, but again, it's a black boy killing a white guy, so they, of course...
There's always video of these incidents. Apparently, once the video is now out, there's going to be a lot of outrage. Many people suspect now that it is far worse than anyone expected, that it was perhaps premeditated or not. The circumstances of this argument that's being pushed on people doesn't exist. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, Carmelo's scumbag lawyer or minister, defense team or whatever, has launched into yet another horrible, disparaging scred against the family of the boy who is no longer with us. Absolutely crazy. Let's get into all this. A huge shout out to everyone. I promise by Friday I'm going to give everyone a reprieve on the coffee brand coffee ads. But I have a goal of...
Bro, get to the video.
Of what happened to Austin Metcalf.
Do you think about that? If this video comes out and you see exactly what happened, what I suspect is going to happen, that will be the real question.
So Jason Whitlock, they're still on this Austin. I don't know why they're still talking about them two boys. They just need something to be racial. But here's Jason Whitlock, Uncle Ruckus. Once the video of the interaction between Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf is released, there's going to be outrage. I believe this video is intended to trigger white people in the same way that George Floyd upset black people. Well, it's good to see that Jason Whitlock is acknowledging that George Floyd was upsetting to black people. But again, he didn't really care about black people's feelings, but he definitely cares about the white people's feelings, when it comes to Austin Metcalf. I can't stand Jason Whitlock. I can't stand the conservative twins. I can't stand Greg Foreman now, the black conservative perspective. I absolutely cannot stand most black conservatives. They are repulsively weak, disgusting, and sad people. And if you look at the contradictions of these people, you got the Hodge twins. These people, they make it their coins talking shit about black people. And a lot of these people are sitting there with brown skin, black ass parents. Their parents are black as hell. And they will spit all kinds of disgusting vitriol about black people in a very generalized way. No exceptions. And this is how they make their coins. It is the ultimate Uncle Ruckus. And I mean, black people like Jason Whitlock, Candace Owens, Greg Foreman, Brandon Tatum. Like, there is a special place in hell for them. And honestly, I hope they all burn there. But anyways, because you're traitors. You are traitors. I mean, I can't see white nationalists actually looking at these black looking Sambos as loyalists. I just really can't. Like, I'm pretty sure any chance that they can, they are going to slick talk and remind these people that they think that they're inferior. Just look at that one gay black conservative guy. What is the guy's name? He's a flamboyant gentleman. And he's always like, we're the cool kids. We're the cool kids. Like the black conservatives. Everybody wants to be like us now. And it's like, nobody wants to be like you. Selling out like you. Taking insults from people that think that you're inferior. Yet you're taking coins from them at the same time. Nobody wants to be like you. These people are disgusting and repulsive. But anyways, just coming in, Carmelo, the downfall of America. I mean, everybody got something to say. I cannot believe I done checked out for at least a good 2 weeks from the internet. And they are still talking about this Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf thing. I'm telling you, this is why believing in God, staying out of Satan's world is your best bet. But I'm still shocked that they're still talking about this.
This is what Ivy League
White conservative media is really talking about it because they don't really have anything else to feel victimized
What's up,
about.
everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and things are heating up in the war of words between Carmelo Anthony's representative or fixer, whatever you want to call this loser, and Austin Metcalf's dad. Also, he is a sympathetic figure. Just, I think a lot of people wanted to see more outrage from him. I think we're starting to see that. I think we're starting to see Austin Metcalf's dad getting a little bit sick of.
So notice that the white supremacist segment of America, they were not happy with Austin Metcalf's father's reaction. I believe about a week ago, you had this Ashkenazi Christian lighting the flames of hate, trying to create a rally against, I guess, some rally to protect white people from black aggression. It was an epic failure. It was sad as hell looking. And it's just like, bruh, if you don't take your Roman looking ass, you're not even from the Scandinavian folks, probably. Most white people are, their ancestry is Scandinavia. They're Germanic people, right? They're not Israelites. They are not Israelites. They're not Hebrews. They don't descend from Africa. And by the way, Israel is in Africa. It's not in the Middle East. The Middle East is an illusion. I think that from the history that I've seen, the Middle East, that tag came in like the 19th century, early 1900s, before it was Africa. That region was Africa because Israel is in Africa, and the people in the Bible they're talking about Africans. The Hebrews, those are African black looking people. The Cushite wife that Moses had, she was a black looking woman, right? Because Cushite descent people, right? They are equivalent to the Ethiopians today. So, but anyways, you got to know your secular history to really understand the Bible. But getting off of that, it's really sad to me that these racial conversations are still going on, right? The white supremacists, obviously, they're looking at this Austin Metcalf thing as their George Floyd. This is what Jason Whitlock is comparing this to. And, honestly, it's like, at this point, white people got to understand that, the reverse victimhood that's been played on you, right? Y'all have bought into it really hard. And I think, and I said this in 2020, that you're going to see a lot of white Americans who may have been reformed racist because of all that hyper racist stuff, it's going to bring the racism out in a lot of people. Post George Floyd was going to bring a lot of racism out in a lot of people. And that's exactly what George Floyd did. Now they're trying to create that George Floyd moment, right? But it's almost like a reverse MK Ultra, because now they have these white Americans, the ignorant part of white America, they are emboldened, right? Because they have their dear Trump, they have all their Republicans, they have, sort of this idea of America the way that they want. So now this is the time to inflame Black people, right? So we got a reverse MK Ultra thing going on here. So the more white Americans turn up in their racism, the more Black people are going to start turning up of their racism against them. So there's a lot of people who walk around and they're like, I'm not a racist person. I don't think about racial divisions. But the more this MK Ultra propaganda projection stuff kind of plays, this is why I tell people disconnect from social media. I had to disconnect from social media because I was listening to so many racist things, people attacking my people, right? I found myself having, starting to, that hate was kind of coming on to me. I started feeling like I was treating people who were not like me differently. And I didn't like that because that's not how God wants me to operate. He doesn't want me to operate running around looking at my white brothers or other sisters and brothers on this earth as being something against me, or just judging them as being against me because of their color. And this is what this MK Ultra stuff can do to a person. I thank God that I have the reason to step back to myself and say, you know what? You were treating that person that way because you were operating on something that you saw on social media. It's like Roots. It's like the movie Roots, really. My mom used to work at Detroit Edison. She was working at Detroit Edison in the 70s. And obviously there were Black folks working at Detroit Edison. Roots came out. It was actually a TV series. It wasn't a movie. It was actually a TV series, which was actually worse than a movie because you had the propaganda free for everybody to see and talk about, right? And when Roots came out, it was really talked about. And I remember my mom telling me when Roots came out, she had a coworker named Kathy, white lady. Her and Kathy got along really well. They talked about fashion. They had lunch together. She said when Roots came out, she said it messed with her psychology so bad seeing those images. And back in that day, those were considered graphic images, and they did that by design. And she said for a couple of weeks after Roots came out, after she saw that, her whole mindset about white people was just different. She said, I'm not going to say I hated them. I just didn't feel the same about them for a long time. And it was because I watched that movie. And that's how a lot of this propaganda works out. It's like you don't feel like you don't want to feel, ideas of racism. You don't want to feel that. But because it's being so propagandized and it takes that one image or that one situation, and now somehow some of that anger is internalized onto you. And so I just say that to say that this is really with this, like this Austin Metcalf thing, and this Carmelo Anthony thing, the George Floyd thing. These are, to me, MK Ultra type of propagandas. I'm not saying that these aren't real life situations, but these are real life situations that can easily be propagandized, and they can inspire people they can cause division. They can cause people to hate other people. And if you don't have, a strong sense of, I don't want to say common sense, but if you don't have a sort of a higher Supreme Court of Justice of thought in your brain to kind of be able to check yourself on buying into this propaganda, you will fall into being racist in no time. racism is very easy to fall into, whether you want to fall in. It just takes one moment in our life, and then all of a sudden, we are in this position where we're hating other people without real justice, or with, with not a lot of discrimination. We're just hating people because of their color, their skin colors. I mean, and I'll tell you this, 2020 changed me a lot, because I used to be like such a worldly type of person. Like I hung out with all kinds of people. I didn't have any mindset of not interracially dating. It was just like, it was just kind of one of those things that it was so normalized. Nobody cared about interracially dating. But then in 2020, with all of that hyper racial stuff that was going on, and just like the media propaganda machine, and it was like, nope. I like, it's very hard for me to even think about it now. Like, and but that is a result of these type of propagandas, where a person can be completely fine, normal, not racist, right? Or not even thinking about separating themselves in certain degrees of their lives. And then all of a sudden you get this propaganda machine, and it's like, now I really have a hard time, like, I mean, even thinking about, dating somebody that, isn't my own. And that's not, and that's sad, because there's a lot of good people out there. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of good people out there, but it's just one of those things that this is how propaganda can really mess with people's mind. And, it makes people think about things in a different way. And, and it's sad. So I hope that a lot of this Carmelo Anthony stuff, obviously you got the Black conservatives like Jason Whitlock narrating this as being, the white people's George Floyd. And so, we already know kind of what that is intended to do. It's really to inflame white Americans. And when we see that they need these Black faces on inflaming them and kind of bringing out their inner hate, if you will. And unfortunately, there are some white people that are buying into it. There are some white people, they're like, man, this is not what we're doing. This is not where we're at. Like, we have gone, like, there are some white people who are truly repulsed by a lot of the conversations that are going on by other white Americans, because they're like, no, this shit was like, well, this is my grandfather's generation. This wasn't even my generation. Why the fuck are you guys bringing this shit into our generation? This level of high level hate towards people specifically, right? There's a lot of white people that don't rock with that, and that is my comfort, right? That is my comfort. When I run into white people who are just repulsed by certain conversations, dialogues, and manners, and they're just like, this does not help our country. This does not help us as a people, right? We're Americans. And when I say we're all Americans, I mean that, those people are real people. Those are real Americans, but then you got some of these people, they want America to be back to the old way. They want America to be back to the old way, where there was a sense of false white superiority, even though a lot of, I'll go into a whole idea about creations and innovations. But that is just to say, you guys, keep your prayers up. Keep your prayers up. There's a lot of propaganda going on, and that propaganda is intended to divide us. If you can divide a nation, you can conquer that nation. Economically, America is already on a lifeline with its dollar. And again, the nation that rules the finances of the world reserve currency, that is the nation that has the power of the world. But when you start losing your status and this and that, right, your power kind of dwindles. So America has bigger problems to deal with than racist ass people, and that's 100%. But at the same time, the fact that we're still dealing with, this level of racism, and it's actually being propagandized. I mean, it kind of leads a lot of people to wonder, like, who is behind all of this? Who is behind all of this? Like, who is making us hate each other so hard? Because the effort is there. You're talking about millions of dollars being put into making Americans hate themselves. And that's insane to me. It's insane to me that some of the biggest bloggers on YouTube and social media are the ones that spew the most hate and division, and they are actually making money. And my thing is, who is subscribing to that? Who is getting these people paid? Some of these people shouldn't even be seen. They're a disgrace. So, anyways, you said the devil. The devil, who is the devil in human flesh is what I want to know. Because I'm like, how are all these racist people getting paid so much? They're not being shunned. They're not being blackballed. They're being paid. They're being enriched to spew their racism. That is insane to me. That is absolutely insane to me. But let me get back to the comments. What's up, Muko? Is there anyone who can, let me see, say Judaism, if ye think that ye are friends to Allah to exclusion of other men, then express your desires for death if you are truthful. I mean, I'm not, what are you quoting? I'm not sure what you are quoting there, but I do agree that if you claim to be a friend of God and you have the mindset of excluding people based off of their, outward appearance, anything superficial outside of the character, you can't be a person of God. And the sad thing about this, what's going on, Brian? I see you. The sad thing about this is that the people who are claiming that they are about God, faith, and family, they are the ones who are spewing the worst vitriol. They're running around with their little crosses on, talk about God, faith, and family, and in the same, breath, they're spitting out just racist vitriol. I'm like, your God gotta be the devil. Your God gotta be the devil for you to be out here in these streets just spewing that vitriol. I mean, I had to check God. I'm telling you, in 2020, I had to check God. I had to pray to God to check me because it was so much vitriol and MK Ultra stuff going on. Like I said, it made me just look at, the intentions of white people different. Like, and this was indiscriminately. And that was the part that was my flaw, because as much as, you have all these racist types of people, there are still other peoples in these groups that are not. And you have to be careful not to generalize people. Just like when you talk about low IQ, right? To me, intelligence is very subjective. Intelligence is very, very subjective. And when you're talking about somebody's intelligence, it's like, how are you measuring it? A lot of times people who are kind of deemed high IQ, they're still dumber than a sack of diapers because they don't have good reasoning skills. There's a difference between acquiring a bunch of information and not knowing how to reason on it. Anybody can go sit their ass in the classroom and just be absorbed with a lot of information that they are required to test on. But how many of those people are able to take that information and actually apply it in the real world, reason on it on a consistent basis? Not many. There are a lot of people running around with no degrees that are actually way higher IQ than some of these idiots running around with 12 of them. And that's just word 100. I had a client, and he was actually another person's client. And I just ended up helping him out. And he started bashing himself off. He said, "Ma'am, I'm not a smart man." He said, "I didn't even finish 7th grade." He said, "But I was really good at my hands." And he said, "I first started doing some landscaping, then decided I'd start my own business. And then before I know it, I was doing all kinds of other construction." This guy is worth multi-millions of dollars, and he's never been in school. He said he finished 7th grade. And a lot of people are like, that's impossible. This man said that he makes more money than his friends that spent years getting a degree. So that tells you that IQ is subjective. IQ is very, very subjective. If you ultimately can't make money and stabilize yourself and make smart decisions with your money, right? That's really, to me, the indicator of a high IQ. If you just somebody that went to school, you done got like 1,000 degrees just to add a badge of credibility. It's just right now, I'm doing this designation, and it's supposed to be one of the highest designations that you can get in the financial sector. And, as I'm going through these studies, and honestly, I'm not very motivated to do this designation. The more I actually study, the more I'm just like, this is just another regulatory body on my ass. And I already got the high ethics and morality to do the job. But, at the same time, I understand that some people get these letters behind their name because it adds an extra layer of credibility. But at the same time, even with these letters behind my name, I still have to actually be that credible, honest, moral, and ethical person with or without the letters. So that's just my side rant, because I'm like, I don't even know if I want to just completely pursue this designation. Even though I'm staying the course right now, it is burning me out. But I do feel like knowledge is empowerment, and it's always good to be the best that you can be in your craft. So this is just my final destination in my craft of schooling, where once I get this designation, I feel like I would have reached probably the highest pinnacle in my profession. And at that point, I will just be focused on being a good financial advisor. And I'm a good financial advisor now, in my opinion, but I really want to make sure that I'm just right and tight. So these calculations are killing me, but you got to do what you got to do. So anyways, you guys, I have been on here for not quite an hour. It's good to catch Howard. I missed you, Brian. I miss you. And I'm going to keep it going, Brian. I stay prayed up. I always ask, like, when I feel like I'm overwhelmed, I'm like, God, please give me the strength. Give me the direction. I tell my clients that too, because, a lot of times it's just hard living over here and people going through everything. And I'm just like, what we going to do, right? We going to ask God to give us the strength. He go and ask him to give us a direction. And anytime you feel overwhelmed, you ask God for the strength and direction, right? And I have some of them, they'll call me like, oh, that's my mantra now. That's right. Because you can't do nothing else in this world. Satan is going to Satan. The devils are going to devil, right? All we can do, our biggest tool in the box, is going to our King in heaven and our Father and saying, please give me the strength and direction to get through this. That's all we got. And I testify all the time that they are good. Because, again, when God's people are in covenant, they don't want for anything. They don't have the same problems as other people without faith. And that is why I feel bad for people who run around talking about, I don't know if God exists, that's an illusion. And it's like, you go ahead and believe that, but your mental health tells me that you could kind of use a little God in your life, baby. Now, your mental health is telling me that you can use God in your life. You ever see people run around with just poor mental health, but then they talk about God don't exist? It's like, even if you don't think God exists, he know you exist, and so do the devil. And the devil love hearing folks say God don't exist, because he's like, I'm about to fuck with you for a long time until you believe that my Father exists, because even the devil know that God exists. But anyways, y'all, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening. It's great to catch up with you guys. I will be on. Like I said, I do not follow Satan's world like that because it's just stressful to me. But we're going to keep our prayers up. We're not going to let any of these racist folks, no matter what color they are, because racism is not racist. I tell people this all the time. Racism is not racist, okay? Anybody can be a racist. And right now, we got a lot of diverse racists on the microphone in America, and their mission is to divide the people in this nation. That is their mission. They need people divided. They need people at each other's throats. They need people running around with a sense of superiority that's just very convoluted, right? That's what they need. And so the real children of God, and I'm talking about our Hebrews and our Gentiles, we're going to reject that. In the name of Yeshua, our King, we will not be letting that devil get into our brains like that. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.